Good afternoon, this is Houndog Steve here, wishing you a very pleasant afternoon, and you've caught me with a Druthers moment, and you can see by that headline what a controversial little newspaper this is. And this week I'm going to do Freedom Wins. There are several of them, and many of them have to do with some of the unbelievable changes taking place south of the border, with the new mandates brought in about DEI, and of course the Doge going after all of the fraud. And that is absolutely fascinating. You know, that is something that actually needs to happen in Canada. The billions of dollars that have been uncovered, fake employees, people who were dead, who were collecting Social Security. This was all people from the inside collecting money, double dipping, triple dipping, quadruple dipping. And so yes, we need a similar thing taking place up here, because the waste is absolutely stunning. Now, I'm not saying that President Trump is a hero, and neither is Elon Musk. However, today is the day that the Epstein client list is going to be revealed by the FBI. Now, whether that will be a complete list or whether it be redacted, I don't know. But, you know, we really are getting some revelations that certainly in the people that I know were all waiting for a long, long time. Because, you know, people like you and I, they're just the regular common folk who are at street level. We're the ones who get our feet held to the fire. Any little mistake, and you are up in front of a judge or a court or a tribunal, reprimanded, fined, prohibited, whatever it is. So why shouldn't that go across the board? Why should some people have immunity and then commit the absolute most egregious abuses of power and get away with it? And you know, you jaywalk, and all of a sudden, you know, you're in jail for 60 days. You know, as a public nuisance, or you make a post on Facebook, for goodness sake. You know, at one time we had the right to speak out against. That was actually a given thing, that you were going to speak out against the leaders. And you know, all of the leaders, certainly when I was growing up in Britain, were told, when you are ridiculed, laugh with them, because it looks so bad if you lose your temper or you can't take a joke. Anyway, let's go over and read some of these Freedom Wins. And you know, one thing I was going to add, you know, you might think that this is just south of the border, but here, I found this today. Actually, it was on another video. It was from Clyde Do Something, and yes, it's Toronto Pride is losing funding over DEI backlash. Okay, take a look. And here we have this from CBC, of all people. Pride Toronto loses 3 corporate sponsors in move it connects to attack on DEI programs in the US. Non-profit organisation says it was told shift in mandate partially behind the move. So there you go. We are not immune from things that happen in America, and certainly Donald Trump, Elon Musk and Robert Kennedy Jr. are making a huge tidal wave, which is being felt and is going to continue to be felt around the world for the next 4 years. Okay, without further ado, here we go. So here we go, Freedom Wins. Meta's founder Mark Zuckerberg announced that Facebook, Instagram and other Meta platforms will be ending their fact-checking program. Zuckerberg said the move would dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. Zuckerberg said Meta's fact-checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created. Well, fancy that. Who would have thunk? Oh my God, what a surprise. I just picked me up off the floor. The tech firm's content moderation teams will also be moving from California to Texas, where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Again, about Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg directs removal of tampons from men's restrooms in Meta offices. As part of its scaling back on DEI initiatives, Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, has removed tampons from men's restrooms in its offices in New York, Texas and California. McDonald's has announced plans to discontinue its diversity, equity and inclusion hiring practices and training program. In its announcement, the company cited a shifting political landscape and the recent US Supreme Court decision that struck down affirmative action in college admissions. McDonald's joins a growing list of major corporations, including Walmart, Target and Ford, to have rolled back their DEI strategies in response to the ruling and increasing public and political scrutiny of such initiatives. 6 class action lawsuits have been filed against major dental product manufacturers for deceptively marketing products containing fluoride to young children and misleading parents to believe the products are safe for toddlers. The lawsuits name a number of children's toothpaste brands, including Crest and Colgate. The US House of Representatives passed the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act. The legislation excludes males from participating in women's sports sponsored by organizations that receive federal funding. The act stipulates that the sex shall be recognized based solely on a person's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. Governor Patrick Morrisey, West Virginia's new governor, signed an executive order that formally provides the right to religious exemptions from mandatory inoculation for school children in his state. West Virginia now joins the other 45 states that recognize Americans' inherent religious freedom. This means that there are just 4 more states to win over: New York, California, Connecticut, and Maine. On his second day in office, West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey banned diversity, equity and inclusion initiatives at all public institutions in the state through an executive action. Theories of DEI are contrary to equal protection guarantees of the West Virginia and United States Constitution. The order prohibits state institutions from using public funds or resources to support DEI-related programs, star positions or initiatives. It also bans requirements for anyone to undergo DEI training, pledge support for DEI causes, or disclose their preferred pronouns. A federal judge has struck down the Biden administration's proposed Title IX reforms, which would have expanded transgender equity for students and changed the rules governing sex discrimination in schools. The judge ruled that the Education Department had violated teachers' rights by requiring them to use students' preferred pronouns. US Donald Trump has signed an executive order banning the creation and issuance of central bank digital currency, CBDC, in the US in favor of a private sector-driven digital ecosystem. Not sure what that private sector digital-driven ecosystem is, but I'm certainly glad to hear that somebody has banned CBDCs in their country. Following a review, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and 9 other state attorneys general warned major financial institutions that certain diversity, equity and inclusion and environmental, social and governance commitments could lead to enforcement actions if they are found to violate state or federal law. Anti-DEI groups, including the National Legal and Policy Center and National Center for Public Policy Research, take aim at major banks. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase became the latest major companies to be hit with shareholder proposals and discrimination lawsuits for their woke diversity, equity and inclusion policies. Goldman Sachs currently has diversity quotas for companies it helps take public, and commitment to invest $10 billion in companies and organizations that benefit black women and hiring targets for black vice presidents and race-based networking groups. JP Morgan, meanwhile, has a DEI program that picks suppliers based on their race and sex. What could go wrong? Every major bank based in the US has withdrawn from the Net Zero Banking Alliance after Texas Attorney General Paxton's strong encouragement to do so. The NZBA is an activist organization that requires its members to prioritize a radical climate agenda over consumer and investor interests. Pete Hegseth, the new US Secretary of Defense, vowed that all service members who were involuntarily removed from service for refusing the CV inoculation would be reinstated with back pay. A Canadian judge has rejected a complaint against maskless workplaces as frivolous. Federal Court Justice Benoit Duchesne ruled that Nicholas Juster's complaint of feeling unsafe following the end of mask mandates in federal workplaces was unreasonable. Juster, a fully inoculated Elections Canada manager without any particular health issues, complained that he felt unsafe in Gatineau headquarters. A class action lawsuit against the Canadian government's CV inoculation mandate for core public administration employees has been approved by the federal court. The class action was started in response to the inoculation mandate issued in 2021 for public administrative employees, including those working for the RCMP and Treasury Board. The plaintiffs argue that the mandate violated their charter rights, and so it did. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, and relishing in some of the changes that are taking place. Like I say, for a lot of us, it feels like it's a long time coming that we should revert, God forbid, to some common sense once again. I don't know whether I regret saying this, but it is a refreshing change to see non-career politicians get put into a position, where they can have some business common sense and authority to make some changes. And of course, the White House just announced that they are not only going to allow questions from the press gallery. No, it's going to go out into all social media, and everyone will have an opportunity to put a question to the press secretary, and they deserve to get an answer just as anyone else from the New York Times or the Washington Post, so on and so forth, CNN, Fox. Yes, because these social media platforms, not necessarily mine, but these social media platforms are on the rise as a pertinent voice in today's world. Okie dokie, if you've enjoyed that, please like, comment, subscribe below, and in the meantime, this is Houndog Steve wishing you a very pleasant afternoon, and we'll talk very, very shortly. See you now. Bye.